Hey, y'all. On today's episode, we're going to talk about technology and innovation, specifically the impact it's having on the restaurant, retail, and hospitality industries. Advancements like new AI-powered customer service, automated kitchen and store technology, smart ordering systems, and the list goes on and on. It's not just about making things run smoothly. It's about staying ahead in a tough market. Keeping up with the latest tech and always coming up with new ideas isn't just a fun bonus anymore. It's a part of giving customers a great experience, making work easier for employees and running the businesses like a pro. So, how do you and your business stay relevant with constant change in consumer needs? Today, I'm very excited. We have Rachael Nordby and Ali Knapp with us to talk about technology and innovation. To start, I would love for the both of you to tell us a little bit about yourselves, your backgrounds, and your current roles at both Intertek and Wisetail. Rachael, how about we start with you?
Thanks, Even. Well, I am currently at Intertek on the group innovation team. My title is Senior Global Digital Innovation Manager. But I come from a history with Wisetail. I spent 5 years maybe 6 years with Wisetail, sitting on both the client side and the product side. And before that, spent time at digital marketing agencies. And then actually I was thinking about this recently. The first thing I did to start my career was create an innovation award that was focused on the clean energy industry. And that program is actually now in its 14th year, finding new energy pioneers. So I've kind of been at in the innovation space in some way, shape, or form, because I think Wisetail has always been a highly innovative company throughout my career. So, but now I get to have innovation in my title, I guess.
That is so exciting. It sounds like a long and tenured history in the innovation space. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Ali.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Ali Knapp. I wear a couple of hats within our organization. So I'm the head of our digital innovation at Intertek, as well as the president of our Wisetail organization currently, which is an Intertek company. And background has always been in the tech side of things. So first started out more on the hardware side, and then really grew a lot of my career with Wisetail, and really becoming part of that organization when it was just a small startup. And when we talk about innovation, I think innovation continues to be something that allows you to operate and be in business and thrive as an organization. And so I think it's really seeded into any part of a company, whether it be a tiny startup or a massive organization. It's something that we just need to continually evolve. And I think that's what innovation is. So I'm excited to talk a little bit further about that today.
Fantastic background, and I am also very excited. I would love to start by understanding a little bit more from you, Rachael. As a senior global digital innovation manager, how big is your business card? No, that's not my question, but I guess it doesn't fit well. You have an extensive background in digital innovation. We heard about where you've come from, what you've done. But I'd love to get your viewpoint on innovation, what it means to people generally, to organizations, industries, how it impacts all of us, sometimes unknowingly every single day.
Well, that is an expansive first question. So before I jump into that, I'm going to just share a quick intro to Intertek, because I find myself saying this all the time, and it's probably true of our audience here. Intertek's one of those important large global organizations that you may well have never heard of, especially as a consumer in your daily life. So Intertek is in the business of something called ATIC, which is Assurance, Testing, Inspection, and Certification. And what that essentially means is that as one of the big 5 global ATIC companies, Intertek has probably touched every one of the major sort of product categories in the supply chain. So I'm always telling people, turn over your kettle or look at your hairdryer. Maybe look at the tags on your upholstery. Intertek has probably played a part in testing, inspecting, or certifying that product in some way, shape, or form. The A side of that actually is probably particularly relevant to this audience, very oriented around auditing. And so if you think about restaurant auditors, hospitality and hotel auditors, those wonderful third parties who might drop in unexpectedly or, be on their annual or monthly, whatever it is, rotation, they may well be an Intertek auditor. So it really is making sure that products, services are safe and meeting the standards that they're meant to in some way, shape, or form. So that's Intertek. I guess my viewpoint on what it means, what innovation means for us as humans and for us as, within the organizations we work for. I was thinking about this last night, and I guess I think it's all about opportunity. The opportunity, I guess, to like try something new as an individual, but also as an organization to be willing to try new things and kind of push the edge, push into things that you haven't done before, be willing to keep an eye out for opportunity. So, kind of in that mindset where you're being flexible and open to addressing challenges in a different way, I think is really all about, is what innovation really is to me, is getting outside of that kind of normal, your everyday routine and saying, I think there's a different way we could do this, maybe. So yeah, I guess that for me means that it's a really powerful way of just being as a person, but also in the way that you show up at work, in the way that businesses can orient themselves.
So I think that's really, really interesting because oftentimes, at least from my perspective, we see innovation as these big one-time events, right? Whether it's a conference, whether you're getting the best of the best to show up and have conversations. But what I'm hearing you say is that you consider innovation as just part of someone's perspective, as just looking for new and unique opportunities. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a mindset, and it's it's an orientation.
Ali, quick question for you. You have been with an organization that's a leader and a pioneer in the learning and development space, especially as we think about the frontline workforce. How do you see technology and innovation impacting our clients on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I mean, both, I think impact us in our everyday work. Doesn't matter, the industry or sector that we're in. And I mean, I guess kind of zooming out and talking a little bit about innovation and where I think that plays a role in what we do every day. I really see innovation as being able to kind of like open those cracks that we see in areas. I think innovation is about when you do have constraints that exist within your business, because we all have them. We operate every day and we have constraints, whether that be resource constraints, time constraints, all of those pieces. And what innovation does, I think, is it allows us to look at those constraints in a little different way. How could I do this differently? How could it be more efficient in those perspectives? And so I really think that that innovation is maybe just seeing things in a slightly different perspective, and then being able to take those back and solve them in different ways. And when we look at some of the frontline workforce, I think it's using technology and tools to be able to give people that new perspective right when they need it, or help them see that new perspective through technology and through the resources that they have, and ensuring that they kind of have that as the foundation, a foundation for themselves.
I could not agree more. And I think So the both of you seem to have a very aligned perspective on taking innovation and sort of internalizing it for everyone across the board, right? Frontline managers, all of those sorts of things. I want to circle back just a little bit. And Rachel, something you said, and when you introduced Intertek, I know that there was a very concerted activity surrounding innovation. I'm curious because I'm sure we have some organizations and some people listening now who are interested in exploring what can we do in a time frame, what can we do as an organization to really level up our innovation. Can you give us a little bit of background of what that was and how Intertek explored that?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually just wrapped up Innovation Week, not last week, but the week prior. And we managed to bring together 25 people from around the globe. And I really do mean around the globe. I wrote these down, so let me read them out. But it was 12 countries, 11 different business lines. That's kind of organizations within the business. We had probably 6 or 7 different native languages. People were speaking in English, but we had a lot of people with, English as a second, maybe third language. So we brought these 25 individuals to London for 3 days of intense collaboration, very structured ideation to refine ideas and get them to a point where they could pitch them to the highest level of executives at the organization. I think what was particularly interesting about those 25 people and the breadth of experience, career paths that they have, we actually whittled that, not whittled, but we managed to reach one of the biggest goals we had was to, and I think we'll get into this later, but how do we reach as broad an audience as we can to get hand raiser innovators to London, so they're really coming enthusiastic and excited to be there. So yeah, we had this really, really broad set of people. We grouped them into 5 different teams, and they each had sort of a really, really large global challenge within which to orient their ideation. And yeah, three days to get an idea, to figure out an idea, pull together a business case, and get it ready to pitch. So yeah, I think it was really successful in the breadth that we were able to bring to London, but also we got 5 viable ideas. All are going to be moving forward in some way, shape, or form. And we really showed what you can do when you get outside of your typical set of experiences, add a little pressure, a little time constraint, and keep people focused.
I'm curious, Ali. I know that what Rachel just shared about Innovation Week was really an intentional way of driving innovation. From your experiences, does innovation have to be sort of that intentionality piece, or do you have an example that's a little more tangible, tactical of what you've seen sort of in that restaurant, retail, hospitality space, whether it be something that, someone on the floor has found a new efficiency or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So first hitting on, so I was a part of the innovation challenge in London as well. And hitting on that first, like what I thought was so neat about that event was Intertek's a massive organization. It has 52,000 employees, and they were able to take that entire group of employees and bring 25 innovators to London, and did that through this whole gamification piece. So as Rachel was saying, like there's 52,000 people. Then that went down to 200 people that had played an engineering specific game that Intertek had worked on and developed. And then from those pieces, they went through and there was a whole essay component of it. And then through that piece went to, this in-person component. So it was like neat how a big event like that also encompassed a whole group of of people. And anyway, so I just think that was really cool, right? Like there's ways to have the whole organization as a part of your innovation as well. Day-to-day innovation and capturing that more of the like frontline workforce space. I think that, yes, this is something that can be done all the time throughout your day-to-day. We have had clients on the Wisetail side of things that they have individual employees that may upload a more efficient, they may upload a video or document or, share something with the larger group on how to more effectively do something in their day-to-day. And sometimes when that's uploaded and put through the software platform and then it is rolled out to a larger group, sometimes that small piece of like how you could do a little, operate in a little bit more efficient way, and you're able to take that and roll it out on more of a global scale. Pieces like that can have huge impact on people's day-to-day. And it can be, something as simple as, maybe slightly changing an SOP or, doing something a little bit more efficient. And the impact when you take that and then roll that out across, tons of companies or tons of store locations and people, those tiny little changes can have really large impact.
So I really love that example. You started with Intertek and you talked about the whole organization participating and sort of this gamification approach and paring it down to get sort of that best of the best. And it becomes a behavior pattern for an organization, right? And then the example you just gave was really about this ability to feel free to make suggestions or encouraged to continually innovate. And so to me, that ties those together really, really well, whether you're a huge company like Intertek or maybe a smaller organization with a few locations, that all of that happens on a spectrum. And I think those are great examples of how it can come to life in a multitude of ways. I'm going to say I'm going to pivot, but it's not actually a pivot. It's just another way of asking the exact same questions about innovation. We know it's not one size fits all. Like we just talked about, it happens in different arenas, in different parts of the world, Rachael. I'm really curious from your perspective, Rachael, what considerations should companies keep in mind when developing learning and training programs?
Well, this is kind of an extension of what we were just talking about, but I think something that we focused on, and part of the reason I was saying we managed to get people from 12 countries and 6 and 7 different languages, is because something we focused on was to get out of what we realized was a potentially bad habit we'd fallen into, is kind of tapping on the same resources over and over again for these kinds of initiatives. And while there's a lot of good reasons that we fall into those habits, right? They're, the influencers of the company or natural leaders, they've been successful at things in the past. What that can lead to is blind spots that we're not aware of, maybe the same kinds of ideas coming up over and over again, people not being as energetic and energized about new projects and innovation. So something that I think was particularly good for this project, and I think for all kinds of projects where you're developing training, learning, is how do you reach your all the minds, all the experiences and perspectives across your organization to make sure that you're closing your blind spots or including a variety of perspectives in your training or whatever kind of initiative it is. Ali talked about the gamification. We made sure that it was super accessible. When you're thinking about learning, it's, asking different kinds of people in different roles, maybe where do we have gaps or how do you do this? Those are the kinds of questions I think that are really important factors to make sure that you're always making sure that you get the input, the broadest possible input you can.
Mm-hmm. It's crowdsourcing, right? It
is. I mean,
Wisetail's
got that great feature, right, with user-generated content, and we talk about it a lot with our customers, how powerful that can be and how you leverage that to create more formal training. yeah, the crowdsourcing piece and is, I think, highly impactful.
Ali, is there anything additional that you think of about the no one size fits all? Excuse me. Totally just botched that.
No, all good. Uh, no size fits all. I think what comes to mind when I hear that is just the importance of making sure that everyone has the ability to have that voice if they desire to, right? And again, kind of shifting back, I don't want to get too attached to the Intertek last week, but it's so top of mind, right? Because we just came from this event. And what I thought was so neat is that opening that game to the entire company was a way to really include everyone if they wanted to be a part of that. And it was a new and different approach. As Rachael said, it was trying to open that up to more than maybe who is your individual, your top performance, or those people that are just, always have that voice and are willing to speak up. I think what the game and was trying to do is get some of those voices in there that maybe aren't always heard. And so when you take that back and you look at that from maybe more frontline workforce, maybe more in that frontline retail, restaurant, hospitality area, I think it's about making sure that your frontline has an avenue to speak up and share those ideas, and that then those ideas are taken in, implemented. If they can see those ideas come to fruition, I think it just enables more of that and more sharing within your culture, which means, that's going to just define who you are as a company a bit more if you're willing to listen to those pieces.
So you and Rachael both said something that I think is really interesting. It's the diversity of ideas, right? When you can level set that playing field a little bit. And Rachael, I know I fall prey to this a lot. You tap the same people because they're really hard workers. They've got great ideas, but then you don't get the breadth, like you mentioned, of all of the ideas. And Ali, to your point, creating that level of, whether it's a feedback loop or that level of capability to collect some of that information. My guess is technology can definitely help support that, whatever industry or whatever organization you're in. But I really like y'all's perspective on the fact that it needs to be sort of an open forum. Having said that, we know not all ideas are created equal. In fact, I mean, there has been a lot that we've heard that there are very few new ideas. So I'm really curious, Rachael, were there any crazy things or crazy ideas that came out of Innovation Week? Don't have to give names. You don't even have to give specific examples. But we always hear, right? Innovators oftentimes push the edge and get us to where we need to be. And we think they're crazy at first until they become the next billion-dollar idea. I'm thinking, Uber and Airbnb and all of those things. And so did you hear of anything that just seems a little outlandish?
I can't say too much because everything's very, early stage right now. But we definitely have some ideas that are pushing the edge for sure, that are bringing together both. And I always think this space is particularly interesting, where you're bringing together humans and technology to make work better, to have better results, not replace humans, but like augment the experience, help us do our work more optimally. So there are a couple of things in that space that I think are particularly exciting. Intertek talks a lot about innovation from the core. And I actually think it's a really interesting principle when you sit down and think about it a little bit, because it requires you to be pretty well aware of your strengths, but also your gaps, be on top of your market. What do your customers want and need? What are the challenges they're facing? But also, what's the rest of the industry doing. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in there. It might at first seem kind of limiting, but actually, if you think of some of the biggest concepts that have come out recently, the Ubers and Airbnbs of the world, they're taking some very core foundational needs. I need rides, or I need a place to stay. The hotel isn't quite working for me in the traditional way, or I have an extra house. So that is kind of innovation from the core in some way, shape, or form. And I think the past week, and actually some of the most exciting things that have come out of innovation at this organization recently have come really strong knowledge of our core services and how do we stay ahead of where our customers are going, based on what we're really good at. Be it we have some unbelievable scientists in XYZ space, or we have a technology that if we tweak it in this way, we could reach customers in a different way.
I 100% agree that it is a net new way. We've talked about perspective a lot, right? We've talked about it is not building a rocket ship to Jupiter. It is really about how do you incrementally change an experience to make it more efficient, to make it better, to make it cheaper, to make it more extensible. Like any of those things is really innovation. And so I love that idea of innovation from the core. Ali, is there anything that I'm not going to ask you the outlandish question because my guess is we're not getting an answer to that. But is there anything that you want to highlight coming out of Innovation Week? Or in the alternative, anything that you have seen within the restaurant, retail, hospitality space that you want to call out as particularly interesting to watch?
I mean, we all love the big ideas, right? Like, I think we think like, okay, the way, Uber changed the market, or Airbnb, like we can, say these big monumental changes. But I also think that, that so much within an organization comes with the like mindset that we've been talking about, and almost this like continual improvement mindset that's like, how could I look at this challenge a little bit differently? How could I maybe see a different approach to this? I think if we constantly try to create that culture, that big ideas come from that, because it's a process that you're working through, and you're instilling that in kind of your everyday work life, your everyday practice, and then that's where some of those true like big ideas can come from, because you're just always thinking in that space. And you know what, I think we've seen a lot of that within the industry that Wisetail is targeting with restaurant, retail, fitness, some out of necessity, right? A great example is the service industry in general. When we went through COVID, there was an experience of not having as many frontline workers, as maybe we had prior, right? And so the idea there has been, okay, how do we look at maybe whether it be technology, whether it be our systems, our software, whatever those pieces are, how can we do more with less, because we have to, right? And I think we have seen a lot of innovation come out of that. And that's simply because of the constraints that we've seen on the market. And so I think it's on us, on all of the organizations, to figure out how, how we try to move forward and take those constraints and make them, part of our overall, our solutions, or the way our companies evolve, and that sort of thing.
I have nothing to add to that. I think you did a fantastic job defining and explaining sort of that experience of those big ideas. I'm really curious, Ali, how is Wisetail preparing to meet some of these future challenges?
Well, without giving out what our entire roadmap feature by feature, I would say that what we're trying to do is put training, knowledge, put what you need at the point that you need it. So we're trying to simplify and ensure that the frontline workforce has what they need to do their job on their day-to-day, and to grow and develop and be the humans they want to be, and have that support at the moment that they need it.
So to me, how this ties really, really well into the entire conversation we had today is, if they have the information they need to do their day job, right, they can think about how to create those better efficiencies. They can focus on innovation in a way that allows that space, right? Because they know what they're supposed to, and what the expectations are for that work that they're being paid for.
The way that we're really seeing that, I mean, it's able to scrub through a huge amount of data and drive efficiencies for people who are highly skilled. And if we can free up their time, we can use their brain power to do so much more high value work, to actually offer additional services to our customers, things like that. And so I don't know, I think there's some really interesting stuff in there around how we're using technology to give people back valuable time. And so let's not be so afraid of it. Actually, how can we think about, okay, well, what can I do if I'm scrubbing through hundreds of documents a day, what else could I be doing, right? I'm a highly trained, intelligent person. I bet there's a bunch of stuff we could tap into that time and brain space. So I don't know. I think that's kind of an interesting build on what you were saying, even.
Oh, I completely agree. I have read and seen a lot of things that time is our most valuable resource, right? And so if we can free up some of that, both independently and individually, but also as organizations, who knows what innovative things we can come up with. The
Yeah.
world is our oyster. All right, y'all, I have one final question. This is probably maybe a little more personal than what we've talked about in the past. If you were able to design your own bumper sticker, what would it say and why?
Can I steal one from one I saw recently?
I think innovation is standing on the shoulders of giants. So 100% for that.
This comes to me, but I didn't even see it. Someone saw it on a car and thought of me. So it is a picture of some morel mushrooms, and it says questionable morels, which one could say questionable morals. And it's both a vegetable joke and a foraging joke, and also a commentary on general society today. And I think it kind of wraps me up in a tea. So it's not particularly innovative, but it's kind of a play on perspective in words.
I would say puns and just language in general.
Yeah.
It is continually evolving. And so I would call that innovation, Rachel. Well done. Ali, what
Thank
about
you
you?
for someone for seeing that and thinking of me.
I think my bumper sticker would be just no words. It would be some object, or maybe a stick drawing, maybe a drawing of an animal or something odd, and you let's call it a koala. I like koalas. So it would just be this picture of a koala.
I don't mean to diverge, but there is a trucking company that is driving through Montana of late, I have noticed, and they have a picture of a puffin on the back of their truck. That is I feel like it's a visual game. It took me following the truck for an overly close, long time up and over a mountain pass to figure out that I was looking at a puffin. And I don't know, Ali, that reminded me of that. And now every time I see it, it still takes me a minute to register that I'm looking at a puffin. It's such a mind-melding image on a truck.
So Ali, is that sort of the experience that you're looking for with your koala stick drawing? I don't know if it's in a shape, is it really anyway, that is a completely different rabbit hole. But is that Is it something that just expresses who you are and you find it endearing?
So it's to have the conversation, right? So I think that is what bumper stickers are about, is you pull into a gas station or at a store and people are like, what is that? Like, why do you have a koala on your car? And then you open up a conversation as to talk more, and maybe that person has a connection to a koala. Maybe they thought it was something completely different, right? It just opens up a conversation. And so hopefully it's an avenue to speak to interesting people, get a conversation started. And I think that's kind of the point of bumper stickers is the conversation.
I could not have wrapped this conversation up much more neatly in a bow than that. So I truly appreciate that. I think our conversation has been compelling. It has been interesting. I have learned new and fantastic things. Rachael, we will sit patiently and wait for the outcomes of the Innovation Week at Intertek. Ali, we cannot wait to see what Wisetail is delivering in the future, because it's going to be fabulous. That is all the time we have today. Rachael and Ali, thank you so much. I know you're both very busy people, and I appreciate you sitting down and talking with us, and I'm sure our listeners are grateful as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Even.
Thanks, Even.